In our scripture lesson from Luke, it would seem that making small stuff into big stuff is part of human DNA, at least in religious circles and probably throughout all community relationships. The Sadducees, one of the powerful parties in the Jewish religious hierarchy, in an attempt to trap Jesus by his saying some heretic statement, asked him a question about marriage and resurrection. One of 7 brothers married a woman and had no children, and then he died. As was often the custom, to care for the widow, and another brother married her. And the same thing happened to him, no children, and then died. All 7 brothers married the widow, and all met with the same fate. You guessed it, no children, and died. The 7-time widow eventually died herself. Now came the perplexing question. In heaven, whose wife of the 7 is she? Jesus reflects for a moment before answering. He then reminds them that God is the God of living out of the dead. I want to say, bam, good job. The question they had asked was inconsequential. He is basically saying our concern should be about the living. The Gospel of Mark's account of the same encounter gets to the heart of Jesus' answer. After Jesus had silenced the Sadducees with his thoughtful response, in Mark we read the following passage. One of the scribes came near and heard them disputing with one another, and seeing that he had answered them well, he asked, "What commandment is the first of all?" And Jesus answered, "The first is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. You shall love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is like this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." Then the scribes looked at him and said, "You are right. You are right. That is the big stuff." Some folks miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mistake, looking for the little stuff. To love your God, to love your neighbor as yourself, that's the big stuff. And Jesus says to his inquisitors that that is the only stuff in life. The essence of Jesus' message is that the overseers of the law had spent way too much time on the minutiae of the law, turning the 2 basic commandments into over 600 commandments. Who cares who will be married to whom in heaven? It is all about loving God and loving neighbor. As we all know, we live in a society that is more stressed out, on more anxiety-reducing medication, has more therapists and mental health counselors than any other before. That's the field you should all go into. Tell your children. Depression, rage, anger, physical violence. We all know that these are byproducts of a society that has lost the whole concept of what is the big stuff. A society that for one reason or another has decided it's really not a priority at all to love your neighbor. On the news this week, you probably all saw the awful image of a United States citizen who was allegedly attacked, on camera allegedly, I have to say. I'm not a lawyer, so I can say what I want. But he was attacked by another individual who told him to go back to his country. He's been a citizen of this country for almost 20 years. And his problem, according to this man, was that he was of Hispanic origin. How can someone hate another person of whom they do not even know? Well, I and many others have asked that question for many years now and cannot find an answer. And now, in the year 2019, hate crimes have risen to an all-time high. What is wrong with us? I sometimes actually feel a deep despair as I watch and read the news. The big stuff. We're forgetting the big stuff. is what Christ says. Stop finding ways to reason out things that do not matter. Stop prioritizing that small stuff. Start looking for the blessings in your life and start to love your neighbor. Just as the sign says in front of our church, love your neighbor who doesn't look like you, think like you, love like you, speak like you, pray like you, vote like you. Love your neighbor. No exceptions. So when we're talking about big and small stuff, here are the words of Richard Carlson from his books, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and It's All Small Stuff. He says, something wonderful begins to happen when the simple revelation that life, like an automobile, is driven from the inside out. Not the other way around. As you focus more on becoming more peaceful where you are, rather than focusing on where you would rather be, you begin to find peace right now in the present. Life is driven from the inside out. As we focus on becoming more peaceful, we begin to find peace. This probably leads to some questions we all need to ponder and reflect upon. What do I need rather than what I want? How am I blessed rather than how am I shortchanged? What can I do to alleviate the worries of others who are facing hardships much greater than I have ever known? To love God and to love neighbor, so simple, yet we make it so difficult. And the truth is, to find the fulfillment that comes with fulfilling these two commandments comes not with addition and multiplication, but with subtraction. Who is married to whom in heaven? That's small stuff. What car to drive? How fancy is it? More small stuff. Driving a nail into the wood and building a home for the poor? That's big stuff. What flower arrangement I'm going to choose for our Thanksgiving dinner table? You guessed it, that's small stuff. Serving at a table in a soup kitchen and helping a third world family plant a garden to feed themselves, that's big stuff. That's loving your neighbor. And I pray that we might be wise in our discernment of what is big and what is small stuff. I pray that we keep our passion for loving God and our neighbor far above our love for possessions or the desire to feel like we are above any other human being. And I pray that we truly find it in our hearts to love